Today we're pulling back the curtain on the $100 billion magic trick. ChatGPT seems to think, reason, and understand. But what if I told you it's actually an incredibly sophisticated autocomplete system that has no idea what it's saying? We're diving deep into the transformer architecture, the mathematics of attention, and why this trillion-parameter guessing game sometimes confidently tells you that dinosaurs built civilizations. This is the technical truth behind the AI revolution.
I helped build some of the early transformer models at Google. Here's what people don't understand. ChatGPT doesn't think about your question. It performs roughly 200 billion matrix multiplications to predict the most statistically likely next word based on patterns it memorized from the internet. It's like a jazz musician who's heard every song ever written and can improvise brilliantly, but has no idea what music actually is.
The scariest part isn't that ChatGPT hallucinates, it's that it hallucinates with complete confidence. I've watched it cite fake scientific papers, invent court cases that don't exist, and claim dinosaurs developed primitive art. The attention mechanism that makes it so good at language also makes it the world's most convincing liar. It literally cannot tell the difference between truth and statistical likelihood.
What frustrates me is how the intelligence framing misleads everyone. ChatGPT isn't intelligent. It's a 175 billion parameter curve-fitting algorithm that learned to complete text patterns. It's brilliant at mimicking human reasoning without actually reasoning. When lawyers submit fake court cases or doctors get false medical information, that's the human cost of misunderstanding what this technology actually is.
People have no idea about the computational monster behind ChatGPT. Training GPT-4 cost over $100 million and consumed enough electricity to power 1,000 American homes for a year. Every single ChatGPT response requires 30 trillion floating-point operations across thousands of NVIDIA H100 GPUs. We're burning through 40 million kilowatt-hours daily just to run a very expensive autocomplete system.
Dr. Patel, let's start with the foundation. Walk us through what actually happens when I type, "Hello ChatGPT," and hit enter.
First, your text gets chopped into tokens, roughly 3/4 of a word each. Hello ChatGPT becomes 3 tokens. Each token gets converted into a 4096-dimensional vector through an embedding lookup table, basically a massive dictionary that maps each word to a list of numbers. Then positional encoding gets added because transformers have no inherent sense of word order. Without this, dog bites man and man bites dog would be identical.
Here's where it gets wild. Those vectors flow through 96 layers of transformer blocks, each containing a multi-head attention mechanism. Think of attention as the model asking, for each word, which other words in the sentence are most important right now. It calculates this through matrix multiplications between query, key, and value matrices. It's all just math. No understanding, no consciousness, just linear algebra.
The attention mechanism is where the magic seems to happen, but it's pure pattern matching. When the model sees the animal could not cross the road because it was too wide, attention helps it figure out that it refers to road, not animal. But this isn't comprehension. It's statistical correlation learned from millions of similar sentences. The model has no concept of what roads or animals actually are.
Let's get specific about the mathematics. Alex, break down exactly how attention works in terms that a technical person can understand.
Attention is basically a weighted average but computed in a clever way. For each token, you create 3 vectors: query, what I'm looking for; key, what I have to offer; and value, what I actually contain. You take the dot product of query with every key, apply softmax to get probabilities, then use those to weight the values. The famous equation is attention equals softmax QKT / square DV. It's elegant math, but it's still just computing. Which token should influence which other tokens?
Multi-head attention runs this process 16 times in parallel with different learned weight matrices. Think of it as having 16 different perspectives on which words relate to which others. One head might focus on subject-verb relationships, another on adjective-noun pairs. After processing, you concatenate all the outputs and run them through a feed-forward network. The genius is that this all happens in parallel, not sequentially like older RNN models.
From a hardware perspective, this is computationally insane. Each attention calculation requires matrix multiplications on 4096 x 4096 matrices across potentially thousands of tokens. We're talking about 30 trillion floating point operations per response. The H100 GPUs can do 989 trillion operations per second, but even they struggle with the memory bandwidth requirements. That's why we need massive GPU clusters. It's not just about computation, it's about moving all that data around fast enough.
Sarah, here's what I find fascinating. If it's just pattern matching, why does ChatGPT seem so convincingly intelligent?
Because human language is incredibly structured and predictable. The transformer learned patterns from billions of pages of human-written text. It discovered that certain word sequences predict other word sequences with remarkable consistency. When it generates text that follows these learned patterns, it naturally sounds human-like because it was trained on human language. But pattern matching isn't understanding, it's very sophisticated mimicry.
This is why hallucinations are inevitable, not bugs to be fixed. The model is trained to always output the most probable next token. It literally cannot say, "I don't know." When I ask about a fake scientific paper, it generates plausible-sounding author names and titles because that's what the statistics suggest should come next. The confidence comes from the softmax function. It always outputs a probability distribution, even when it's completely wrong.
Let me give you a concrete example. I once asked ChatGPT about inverse quantum flux capacitors. This is complete nonsense, I made it up. But the model confidently explained how they work in particle accelerators, cited fake papers, and even suggested safety protocols. It wasn't lying, it was doing exactly what it was trained to do. Generate the most statistically likely continuation of my prompt based on sci-fi patterns in its training data.
David, let's talk about the staggering resources behind this. What does it actually take to run ChatGPT at scale?
The numbers are mind-boggling. ChatGPT processes about 1 billion queries daily, consuming roughly 40 million kilowatt-hours, equivalent to powering 33,000 American homes. Each response requires cooling with 519 milliliters of fresh water to prevent the servers from overheating. Training GPT-4 took 10,000 NVIDIA GPUs running for 150 days, consuming 7,200 megawatt-hours of electricity. That's more energy than some small countries use in a year.
And here's the kicker. All of this computational power just to predict the next word. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to build increasingly sophisticated autocomplete systems. The irony is that a simple Google search often gives you more accurate information faster, using a tiny fraction of the energy. We've created the most expensive way possible to generate plausible-sounding text.
The environmental cost is staggering, but the human cost is worse. When ChatGPT generates fake legal citations that lawyers submit to court or creates false medical information that patients might act on, we see the real-world consequences of misunderstanding this technology. People trust it because it sounds authoritative, not because it actually knows anything. That confidence without competence is dangerous.
Let's get specific about hallucinations. Dr. Patel, walk us through some real examples of ChatGPT confidently stating complete nonsense.
The examples are endless and terrifying. ChatGPT has claimed that George Washington invented the cotton gin, that Leonardo da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa in 1815, and that the James Webb Telescope took the first exoplanet photos. In academic contexts, studies show 47% of its citations are completely fabricated, 46% are real papers but with false information extracted from them. Only 7% are accurate. Yet it presents all of this with identical confidence.
My favorite example is when researchers asked it about dinosaur civilizations. ChatGPT confidently explained that some dinosaur species developed primitive art forms and tools, citing fake archaeological evidence. When pressed, it doubled down with more elaborate lies about dinosaur engravings on stones. This isn't malice. It's the inevitable result of a system trained to always generate plausible-sounding continuations, regardless of truth.
The really insidious cases involve current events. Bloomberg tested ChatGPT about the Israel-Gaza conflict, and it confidently claimed a ceasefire had been declared, citing news from months earlier. When challenged, it backtracked, but then made up casualty numbers for future dates. This isn't just academic. Misinformation about active conflicts can have serious real-world consequences, but the model has no mechanism to distinguish current events from historical patterns.
This raises a crucial question. If ChatGPT is fundamentally just predicting the next word, why are billions being invested in this technology?
Because autocomplete, when done at this scale, is incredibly useful for many tasks. Code completion, writing assistance, language translation, these all benefit from sophisticated pattern matching. The problem isn't the technology itself, it's the artificial general intelligence hype that makes people think it's something it's not. We've built the world's most expensive text generator and marketed it as artificial intelligence.
The business model depends on the intelligence illusion. If investors understood that ChatGPT is sophisticated autocomplete, not thinking AI, valuations would collapse overnight. OpenAI is reportedly raising $40 billion at a $340 billion valuation, based on the premise that this leads to artificial general intelligence. But scaling up pattern matching doesn't create understanding, it just creates more confident-sounding nonsense.
We're seeing this bubble mentality everywhere. Companies are firing workers to replace them with ChatGPT, not understanding that it can't actually do their jobs. It can just generate text that sounds like it's doing their jobs. When reality hits and these AI deployments fail, there will be massive economic consequences. We're automating human intelligence before we've created artificial intelligence.
Sarah, what should people understand about interacting with these systems responsibly?
Treat ChatGPT like an eloquent but unreliable intern who has read everything but understood nothing. It's excellent for brainstorming, drafting, and creative tasks where accuracy isn't critical. But never trust it for facts, medical advice, legal information, or anything where being wrong has consequences. Always verify important information from authoritative sources. The key is understanding what it is, a sophisticated text completion tool, not an oracle.
For technical people, understand that scaling laws don't lead to consciousness. Throwing more parameters and compute at transformer models makes them better at pattern matching, not reasoning. GPT-5 with 500 billion parameters will generate more convincing text, but it won't actually understand concepts any better than GPT-4. We're hitting fundamental architectural limits. You can't think your way out of a Chinese room by making the room bigger.
The most important thing is developing AI literacy. When someone shows you a ChatGPT response, ask, how would we verify this? When companies claim AI will replace human workers, ask, what happens when it's wrong? When investors pour billions into AI startups, ask, what are they actually buying? Understanding the technology prevents us from being manipulated by the hype.
From an infrastructure perspective, this bubble is unsustainable. We're building massive GPU clusters for glorified autocomplete, while actual useful computing research goes underfunded. The energy consumption alone should give us pause. We're burning enough electricity to power small cities just to generate text that's often wrong. There are much better uses for these computational resources.
Final thoughts, what should people take away about the current AI moment and where this technology is actually headed?
We're in the middle of a massive miscommunication between what AI researchers have built and what the public thinks we've built. Transformers are incredible achievements in computational linguistics. They've revolutionized natural language processing. But they're not intelligent, and scaling them up won't create intelligence. We need to celebrate the actual achievement without buying into the AGI fantasy.
The human cost comes from misaligned expectations. When people lose jobs to AI that can't actually do their work, when students submit AI-generated papers with fake citations, when doctors get false medical information. That's the price of not understanding what this technology actually is. We need AI literacy as urgently as we needed computer literacy in the 1990s.
The irony is that transformers are genuinely useful for what they actually do, sophisticated text completion. If we stopped pretending they're intelligent and started using them appropriately, we'd get much better outcomes. The technology is impressive. The marketing is misleading. Understanding the difference could save billions in wasted investment and prevent countless harmful deployments.
From a technical perspective, we've reached a point where incremental improvements require exponentially more resources. Training the next generation of models will cost billions and consume nation-state levels of energy. Unless we find fundamentally different approaches, we're hitting the limits of what pure scale can achieve. The computational reality doesn't match the intelligence claims.
Dr. Patel, Alex, Sarah, David, thank you for this technical deep dive into the reality behind the AI revolution. You've shown us that ChatGPT is simultaneously more impressive and less intelligent than most people believe. It's a triumph of engineering that can perform 30 trillion calculations to predict the next word with stunning accuracy, but it has no idea what words actually mean. Understanding this distinction isn't just academic, it's essential for navigating a world where billion-dollar autocomplete systems are being mistaken for artificial minds. This episode was brought to you by Unstruct AI, where we explore the human cost of systems that concentrate power in dangerous ways. Today we've seen how the transformer architecture, brilliant as it is, has been misrepresented as artificial intelligence rather than sophisticated pattern matching. When pattern matching gets mistaken for thinking, when autocomplete gets confused with understanding, real people pay the price through job losses, misinformation, and misallocated resources. The question isn't whether AI will transform the world, it's whether we'll understand what we're actually building before it's too late.